Hey guys, welcome to a visual I'm called the that old time religion. Tip 1 out of 6. The story is automatically progress to the next page after a few seconds. You can adjust the text speed and the preferences. Okay. I'm just ready to play. Um, okay. Episode 1. Harvey's office. A priest, a rabbi, and a Hungan walked through the door. Okay, preferences. Um, I guess I can't see anything about that. Okay. No, it wasn't the start of a joke. I really wish it was. It was instead the start of a couple of really bad days. Mr. Harvey Jenkins, yes. That was the priest, a small, portly man in the usual black slacks and shirt with a white square for a collar that's the usual giveaway. He looked as nervous as a rabbit at a coyote convention, eyeing me in much of a decor of my ramshackle office with barely concealed discomfort. Couldn't really blame him. It looked like 100 miles of bad road on the best of days. My last 3 cleaning ladies all quit after less than a week on the job, and there are things in my office even I don't like to look at if I can help it. The rabbi was less nervous by far. In fact, he looked entirely amused. You certainly fit the descriptions we've been given, Mr. Jenkins, to a T, I might add. I instantly liked this guy. He was burly, but had the build of someone who worked hard most of his life and knew how the world worked. He just had a way of putting folks at ease, which is probably a good thing if you're going to be a Jew in the Deep South. Mama Bante, she don't lie. I told you she knew this man. She know him, and she ain't be the right one for this to call on. The Hungan was wearing a rather dapper gray suit with a matching fedora, and thought it was clear he didn't need it for his lean athletic frame. He had a fine black cane with a silver head of some kind of lizard on it. With eyes almost as black as his skin, he stuttered me hard, and I shifted under his gaze. Something I can do for you gentlemen, or are you here to take turns trying to save my sorry soul? Each of them had chuckled at that. Even the priest of the Haugen never took his eyes off me. The other two seemed to be waiting on him, so the room got as quiet as we all looked at him. Finally, he grunted with some semblance of satisfaction. Yeah, he the one. He'd been touched by something that marked him, but he got a strong soul and a good heart, so he the one. Gentlemen, I'm sure it's all means something to you, but the only reason I'm not been inclined to toss you collectively out of the keisters is because I don't tend to like to get on the wrong side of the clergy. The lizard king here had the good sense to mention Mama Monte, who I owe a couple favors to, so you're cutting to some prime time here, so is there a point? Warren grins and the rabbi laughed congenially as he plopped onto the chair right in front of my desk. The Helgen child grabbed a stool nearby. The priest went over and sat gingerly down on the couch I normally use for a bed when I'm too tired or drunk, usually both, to judge home into my apartment. I figured it best not to tell him how much blood and booze had been soaked in those cushions. He didn't look like he needed any more reasons to be nervous. Rabbi Coach, you just call me Saul. My esteemed colleagues are Bishop Brian McLarty and Daddy Thunderhead, one of the Hogan Assagues of New Orleans. I was a bit thrown by the introductions as I heard all of these men. Rabbi Saul Coach was the leader of the largest Jewish temple in the greater New Orleans area, with Bishop Brian McLarty, who was one of the movers and shakers of the city's Catholic community. As for Daddy Thunderhead, there were a few, Allens who didn't know of the man who could make a ring and call his faithful ward if he so chose. Most of the police department was on order to just leave him alone unless they typically was murdering someone. This was where 3 of the most powerful religious leaders of New Orleans and the surrounding parishes doing in my humble office. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like the answer. I hate being right about such things. Harvey, may I call you Harvey? I nodded at the disarming rabbi. What we have here is a very difficult situation, one that promises to make a lot of trouble for a lot of good people if we don't take action. You see, there's a reason 3 just like us can get along well enough to come see you all at once like this. How can we get together and play cards over good wine and nosh, talk theology without coming to blows, and genuinely like each other? Saul beamed at both of the others who smiled affably and back at him to let me know we wasn't just throwing a line. It was always like this. You gotta expect the religious divides can be hard to overcome, and they can make for some ugly relations for the folks who believe so differently. Poor Brian's predecessors were constantly having to beat their parishioners over the head and shoulders with the New Testament, trying to keep them from heading over to the voodoo parts of the city and setting fires, which would have been a bad move since that means that his folks would have fought back with God knows what and turned the whole city into Apator. Naturally, my people would have just been crushingly crossfire them, as did side with the Catholics in the first place. Do you know why none of this has to come past, Harvey? Well, we haven't had a little nasty religious wars in one of the most vulnerable cities in part of this world. I had to say so that I haven't given much thought. I guess maybe I should have, but I shrugged and took another sip of my bourbon. I offered Bishop the glorious drink as he looked like he needed it. He said I passed about to Daddy Thunderhead, who smiled and accepted that the bishop woke up. Mr. Jenkins is one that you don't concern yourself with much matters normally. That is, in fact, a testament to the man we've come to ask for your help in finding. He is the reason our communities are at peace with each other and why we are even able to come together in times of crisis and work as a single community when a need arises. Daddy Thunderhead chimed in. Sir, surely you noticed there be one-man mission. Yeah. It took me another minute, but finally hit me. There ought to be a Baptist here. I guess that would be the Good River and Kellerman. They all smiled at that. Bishop Brian went on to actually seem to relax as bit as he did. Indeed, Mr. Jenkins, it seemed our collective hopes that you'd be quick on the uptake or well-founded. Reverend Paul Kellerman is the most responsible for the relative harmony New Orleans enjoys with spiritual communities. He preaches a message that is big on love thy neighbor, judge not, least but you be judged, and he does so with great charisma and leadership. In short, Saul butted in. He's kept the peace among us for over 20 years. Now he's missing, and we're all more than a little worried because it's pretty clear there's been foul play, and we think it's way beyond the ability of the police to handle. They ain't got nobody who can handle the powers we think we working. The whole city's starting to go dark already, with demons and shadows playing on the edge, just like they're waiting for us to start. The hell good said all this was perfectly normal, not at all something out of a cheap pulp novel. The trouble was, I knew he was only too right about what we lived in the shadows. I'd already been chewed up and spit out by a few ugly beasts from beyond in my time here. That was in fact part of why I owed Bob Monte a couple of favors. So you gentlemen would hire me to find Reverend Kellerman. And when I say hire, help you realize that good heart knowing more about the favors is a pay helping the rent on this office. So I put this more bourbon on the shelf. So another hearty laugh from Saul's brought a gift. I brought a return from good for me. Not to worry, Harvey. We'll be paying you top rates, most expensive and bonus. You can take a vacation with you if you find Paul. There's plenty of wealthy, powerful folks who support our cause to keep the peace in New Orleans, so the funds are there. In fact, he reached his pocket, pulled out a check, and slid across the desk at me. That's when I knew I was in trouble. It was the biggest retainer check I've ever received. The three gentlemen pointed in three different directions, after which they left to tend their flocks to see what they could do about the supernatural threats they each perceived. Bishop encouraged me to start the scene of the crime itself, which was Reverend Kellerman's office at the St. Charles Avenue Baptist Church, one of the oldest churches in the city. He helped me to look up the church secretary, a Miss Mary Carmichael. Saul thought I should go and see the Reverend's daughter, Rachel. He seemed to be pretty animated about it and warned me that she was already being guarded by the police against possible kidnapping. Daddy Thunderhead recommended I look into the dealing of the gospel Demonox. I know that's not how you pronounce that word, but I don't know how it is. I don't know how it's said. But anyway, aka Brother Gospel Divine, newcomer to the Big Easy. He been set up a huge tent revival out on the edges of the city, preaching about cleaning the sin out of New Orleans. The other two weren't so sure, but the Hawkins seemed convinced of coming troubles were somehow linked to him. Naturally, I also figured the fourth path that would always do me some good when things got weird and potentially dangerous. The streets of NOLA are full of wise and sharp-eyed folks with the right word here. The right amount of money there. A man can find almost anything if he doesn't find a bullet or a knife in his back first. I'm gonna say let's go visit Rachel. She might know somebody who Reverend was involved with. What is it about preachers' kids that always puts them in the middle of the worst kinds of troubles? Yeah, I know, a pretty dumb question to ask. Truth to tell, Rachel Kellerman was the least like the stereotype I'd ever met. Her brown hair was perfectly coiffed in the latest fashion, and her clothing, while not quite society elite, was certainly of a style and cut that spoke volumes about the circles she was used to traveling in. She exuded class and poison just the right mix of proper presence and an undertone of pure sex. But again, maybe she's more a preacher's daughter than I figured at first blush. We met in a city room of a very fine townhome with a pot of tea steeping and a tasty low cakes at hand. I had passed through the two solid-looking uniforms again through the front door, and it was only because Rabbi I asked the mayor personally to have the police cooperate with me that I made it this far, and there were two more bright and shining young cops in the back, and a patrol car made a regular pass around the neighborhood. Apparently, the city was taking the Reverend's kidnapping pretty seriously. Sitting with us in a nice little room was a lump of tan slacks and white rippled shirt named Hal Blake. He was nervously playing with a unlit cigar, sticking it in his mouth one minute, fidgeting with the next. Clearly, Miss Rachel Killerman wasn't having any smoking in her fireplace, which was fine by me. Anything that made Hal Blank unhappy made my day just a little bit better. Hal was an ex-cop in the way a guy to be, in the way a guy at least was to be. Fired for being under the tank, he was accepting bribes with the competing crime gangs. It was making his bosses look bad. Blake went from a disgraceful police career to a fairly dismal PI business. He didn't have the one advantage of being a really good shot. He had a pretty fair rep as a bodyguard, which was now how he makes his rent most of his days. How I got along mainly by avoiding each other like bad diseases, which of course wasn't working out very well today. I chose to ignore him. He chose to glare at me. So you say you didn't see your father at all the day he disappeared. Is that right, Miss Kellerman? She leaned forward to start fixing herself a cup of tea, letting her blouse open just enough to hit at her rather exquisite decolletage she made such efforts to barely conceal. Mr. Jenkins had rarely regaled on all these facts of the police detectives to great exhaustion. Surely he could just read the reports and take it. Her genteel southern accent absolutely flowed like honey from her ruby lips, and there was no mistaking that subtle sense of mere toleration by intrusion in her manner. Nonetheless, she was a perfect hostess, also poured me a cup of tea with raised eyebrow. Mere nod figured out how I liked it. As with all things, straight was fine with me. She then sent a tiny little kick at the steam saucers and tea and handed it to me with an absolute grace and a fine smile. She didn't offer Hal anything. I couldn't help myself. I tasted the cake and made a satisfied face, and I took a sip of the tea. I hate tea utterly. I hated Hal more. The extra heat in his glare made the swill worth swallowing. I said that my saucer cut, babe. I just want to be sure. According to what I've read, his secretary indicated that you were supposed to meet with him at his office about 7:30 p.m., after which you were going to have dinner together. Mr. Jenkins, while it's true we originally had made such plans, he telephoned me and canceled them. I am not entirely sure why, mind you, but Daddy has always been a very busy, very involved man. I simply assumed he was to call to some urgent business I remained here at my home, eating alone that night. Is it possible that he met someone he's interested in romantically? Mr. Jenkins, she went on decidedly cooler in her tone. I am not quite sure I understand what you're implying. My daddy loved Mama with every bit of his soul, and I'm certain he doesn't have so much as thought of another woman in the year and a half since her passing. Hal was so fidgety, only he wasn't glad at me so much. I consider this a clue. I'm a real pro that way. Miss Kellerman, I've been disrespecting to try to help you find your father and save us the police. Oh, I'm sure I have nothing else I can say to help you with this, Mr. Jenkins. I am quite distraught and very tired. I think I'm at the end of my usefulness to you. Sorry that bothered you. Have a fine day. I put my hat and showed myself to the front of the house, and Hal Blake followed me to acknowledge you suddenly. Why don't you go find some cheating creeps on people on Harv? That's what's on your ballpark. Rather than bringing a football like you to a baseball game, Blake. It wasn't good. It was all I had since I had was pretty distracted. I could have glimpsed a stack of mail that someone had missed against the way past the little table next to the front door, and I was so sharp eyes and I couldn't see so great anymore. It was a day for me to buy a fishing boat for the Florida Keys. Leaving one piece of mail I thought very telling. I meant to find out what it was telling me. It was darkly addressed in fluent script to one Rachel Kellerman. The return address was so handwritten. It featured one Gospel Nevadox. As I made my way to down the sidewalk, I spotted two pieces of walking granite matching my pace across the street. Black suits, black shirts, no ties, and nasty X burning on their foreheads. I was just starting to think about which alley would have dug when two more stepped out right in front of me. One pointed a shot at even as the first two broke into a ran towards me. We have come to bear witness. The high ground. Don't they always tell you to go for the high ground? Okay, let's do that. The odds are really my favorite whenever I find myself in a fight with a few friends I have in this world tell me it's karma that sits in my past. I think it's just the nature of my business. A lone investigator snooping into the business of powerful people who can't afford to hire groups of folks to beat the crap out of me. I could run, but that wouldn't tell me much about these guys. I had a feeling I needed to know just what I was dealing with. A stand-up fight wasn't a good idea either. I may know to handle myself well in more than one-on-one brawls, but I think it's a special kind of stupid to think you can go on the distance with four sides of beef at once, even if you have some heat. Because I didn't like shooting anyone if I didn't have to. The paperwork was a real pain in the ass. Doc Carver was in the big one. He was always talking about taking the high ground when things were dangerous. Seemed like I saw them playing this time, so I dove into the alleyway to two new arrivals who just left and made for the nearest fire escape. After a bit of jostling with each other, the four monsters made their way after me, reaching up as I was pulling myself to the nearest landing. So far, so good, but I was starting to think I needed to elaborate on the plan a bit. After all, once we got to the top, it was pretty much the same story really now. They had gravity to play with, and they got their hands on me. Gravity, see, not gonna pay attention sometimes when you start spouting all that science stuff. Instead of making my way up the ladder to the second landing, I grabbed the other side of it, braced myself, just as the first big man made his way near the top and started reaching for me. He was just starting to shout, "We shall bear witness" at me again, when I firmly planted both feet square into his pie hole. Teeth shattered and he lost his grip, plummeting back down the ladder and taking his 3 friends down with him. I slid like a fireman down the ladder after them. The one I kicked was already out, and the one behind me was nearly down for the count. The other two were scrambling to their feet, but I managed to grab a perk on the ground and clock both of them before they got their bearings. I was pretty upset by the fact that I had to hit each of them twice to make it stick. I popped and nearly downed one in the back of the head with a nail-busted rifle and paused to let the shock of the fight wear off a bit, while I looked to see if there was any more trouble coming. Once I was satisfied with things were done for the moment, I checked out my playmates. Each of them was wearing some kind of really odd medallion around his neck. It was an iron circle with some kind of weird lines on it. I think I heard things like this called runes once or twice. I went ahead and took all four and then made my way up the alley. The last thing I needed was some wandering patrolman decided he needed to run me in for questioning. Miss Carmichael, that's who I went to see. Wait, let's see. Let's go to the Gospel Divide, since he was to ask about the black suit dudes. I made my way past the city limits. There was a farmer had given up a huge part of his field to the circus that the gospel had brought in. Each colorful sign hung around over the whole mass reading the Gospel Divide will let you see that the redemption revival all singers welcome. It was nice to feel I was invited. Dozens, maybe hundreds of folks were busy with any number of tasks or miling about, talking with each other like they were at church social, which I suppose was pretty much the case. There was one huge big-top style tent in the middle of the gathering with smaller tents, trailers, and temporary buildings sprung up like mushrooms in the cow pasture. That was appropriate since we were actually in a cow pasture to start with. Two things caught my attention right away. The first was how the big tent was clearly being guarded with all entrances. It looked like only a very select few were allowed in or out. Folks dressed far better than the average hanger on seemed like they had some kind of authority or a special role in things. Anyone else who got too curious about what was behind the flash were rather forcefully pushed back by the guards. That was the other thing that got my attention. The guards, all of them were hugely dressed in black suits with black shirts, no ties. They all had an X branded around on their foreheads. As the horror of that particular group of the business settled in, a dapper gentleman picked his way through the mud and manger towards me, carefully stepping on the straw that had been hastily strewn about to cover most of the mire. "Greetings, Pilgrim, my brother James. If you could wash away your sins and be part of our movement." I tried to smile through the look of the guards weighing heavily on me. His slightly smarmy nature didn't actually do a lot for my disposition either. "Brother James, while I appreciate your concern for my soul, I doubt you got enough water or wine out here to wash away all of my sins. Actually, I'm here to see if I can talk to Mr. Gospel Demodox." Brother James' expression didn't change one iota. His smile still perfectly planted on his face. Nonetheless, I got the distinct impression that he decided he didn't like me. That was fine. Most people didn't like me when they first meet me. People tend to like me even less until they get to know me. But he wants to speak to bless the wisdom over the gospel divide, so he tries to reach out to all, but I'm sure you can understand he's a very, very busy, involved man. He will preach tonight as always. If he joins us with an heavenly service, I'm sure his words of inspiration and guidance will reach you, brother. It was clear Brother James was fishing for my name, though I had no inclination to add my name to a family tree as a brother. I obliged him. After all, the polite thing to do was when you just speak to a man's business. Jenkins, Harvey Jenkins. I produced my credentials, private investigator. This time Brother James' expression did change. A smile slightly faded and was clearly moving to a difference in frame of mind. They all do when they see the badge. As my service, Mr. Jenkins, I have no idea what this is about, but I can assure we all have the necessary permits and licenses. While there are folks that claim such concern for friendly members who join us, no one is here unless they wish to be. There are a few esteemed members of the law enforcement local government, even who are among our ranks. There are no irregularities for you to investigate. He said that last word with a certain amount of disdain, like most people say the word fornicate. I put my pleasant, patient face. It doesn't look too much different from my usual face, except that it made me look a little less like I'm about to punch or shoot you. James, I'm sure that is all fine. I just want to ask our real brother Divine a couple of questions regarding the sick of the distinctly brother James with a golden, powerful voice behind him. We both turned to see a man in pure white suit with a white shirt and white tie. He had a white fedora and carried over a silver cane with a golden cross on top. I thought that's who he was talking to begin with. Whoops. He was flanked by two of the huge Brendan men with a lovely scarlet-haired lady carrying a notebook next to him. Her black skirt was hip-hugging and just barely decent in length. Barely. He showed up confidently, and every single pair of eyes in the area was on him. Looks of adoration came from most. Save a few who spared me looks the farthest, and that he seemed incapable of getting any mud or muck on his pristine suit. I had paid good money for that ability. Brother James leads into the explanation. Brother Divine, you don't need to concern yourself with this matter. I assure you this is just another one of those PIs subnobly is hired to try to convince a loved one to abandon our cause. Gospel Divine was a large man. In fact, he was a bit on the short side and skinny to boot, yet his presence was formidable. So handsome, he was particularly pretty and oozing charisma out of every pore. If I had already faced down things from the pit of hell a few times, I might actually be impressed. He appraised me carefully as he spoke. Is that true, sir? You here to try to convince the member of my flock to leave us? Looked the shitty eyes. I got the impression he wasn't used to that. I couldn't tell if he liked or hated it. No, sir, nothing like that. I'm just here to ask you a few questions about the disappearance of Reverend Paul Kellerman. There, so often it comes down to just saying the right thing at the right time. If you know what to watch for, and any PI who wants to make a living that this figures is out, it comes down to the reaction to your words in that one moment. Divine was good. I had to give him that. Nothing not a twist or a tell of any kind. I might as well have said I just gave her a cheeseburger, some fries, took a wrong turn for all the reaction I got in the moment. No, his brother James and the redhead who gave it away. She focused a little too intently on her note. James' eyes narrowed just an instant before he caught himself. It was like a really intense poker between two sharks. Gospel Divine and I both knew what happened. I had him, and he knew it. He was a pro, though, and the game still had to play out. He also heard about that poor baby kid after the other night. He and I might not seen eye to eye on matters, but the spirit Mr. Jenkins, but I still have considered it any harm brought to a brother in Christ to be a terrible tragedy. If we're looking to his disappearance, I'm grateful I am, however, unclear on how it might be of help here. Time to play my trump. Well, considering you and his daughter have some kind of relationship, I always rather hoping you might have us dealing with the killer most lately could help me get assisting by have done it in for him. A slight smile played at the corner of his mouth. He was actually enjoying this. Miss Rachel Keller, but yes, she and I haven't had a correspondence. Though I consider it to be of a private nature, I will reveal to you that she and I have a certain level of agreement where her father's overly tolerant nature is concerned. I've been hoping to meet her in person while here, but we have not finished that just yet. I'm sorry, but that's all I'm afraid I have a service to prepare for. I realized that I've got when I came here before I decided it might be time for a tactical withdrawal. After all, I really didn't like how those giants with branded foreheads were looking at me. Honestly, Mr. Deadlands, please, Mr. Jenkins, coming divine. Fat chance, sir, I just have to have such a large congregation of spiritual folks that I have some helpful information. I can see you're very busy, so I'll let you get back to your work. I headed the red of my car, and it's pretty sure no one ever hated Gospel Divine anything directly. If you do come across any information, I'm grateful to hear from you. I turned to go at that. Figured this part of the game was over. Not quite. Mr. Jenkins, his voice rang like a bell. I couldn't help but stop at the tracks and turn to face him again. He strode very purposely towards me. I was shocked to see that even his bodyguards held back. Brother James was already on his way to instruct one others in one task of another, and though it was clear that their leader had one more thing to say to me, most folks seemed inclined to stay out of the business that did concern them. The glares of the bodyguard seemed to help in that. Devin Ox cut up to me, and he stood close enough to speak in a near whisper. He been touched with Mr. Jenkins, touched by shadows, by darkness, we both know it. He looked at me intently, obviously expecting some kind of response, and then obliged him. He went on. My ministry could use one with your gifts and your experience, sir. I promise you the rewards would be most. He glanced back at the redhead, who was looking nervously our way, fulfilling. I can also promise you that anything that interferes with the ministry is a very real risk of facing terrible wrath. God's will must be done, Mr. Jenkins. It must be done. I just stared at him for a long moment. I could have gone the usual. Is that a threat round again? But we both knew the game well enough to avoid the cliche. Of course, it's a threat. He made his plan to recruit me. That was my turn. I know a handful of folks who feel pretty particular about God's will, Mr. Devin Ox, but I'm pretty sure they don't agree with you on just what that means. Then I smiled and turned and walked away from him and said over my shoulder, I am pretty sure you don't buy the crap you're selling either. Alright, guys. I'm going to save here, and I will see you guys in the next video.